Now, as a Black Clover fan, you might think that Lucifero, the final devil of the Cliff-Off tree, the devil of gravity, probably the strongest, except for maybe one that I'll mention, but you might think that they are the final villain, and they are the true villain. But what if I told you that they might just be a pawn, that Lucifero might just be a pawn to the true villain of Black Clover? In Norse mythology, even the higher gods like Odin and Thor are still vulnerable to the power of the Norns. The Norns are the goddesses of fate. They are witches who use red threads to manipulate fate. Even though a much younger and weaker Odin killed a multiple universal-sized being in Ymir, his immeasurable power and his own Seder fate magic wasn't close to being strong enough to counteract the fate manipulation of the Norns, the goddesses of fate. And this leads me back to an old theory I had, that these goddesses are controlling everything in Black Clover, possibly even the Demon King, Lucifero himself. So this is a pretty interesting theory, and it's one I've been kind of like building up inadvertently over the course of the last few months by talking about the God of Fate in a lot of different videos, just minorly, but now this video is solely focused on the God of Fate because it's just very important. I think it's bound to happen at this time. So if you guys do end up enjoying this video, please drop a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and also you can join my Discord, talk about it in there, or you can follow me on Twitter, tweet at me, tell me I'm an idiot, whatever you want to do. I want to say thank you guys so much for all the support on all my videos lately. You guys have been killing it. I really do appreciate it so much. It's so fun making these theories and discussing them with you, but this is a theory that I will say it's similar to one I made in the past, and that's regarding Norse mythology, the goddesses of fate, the Norns, and how this connects to Black Clover, what's possibly going on. But I will say there's a lot more evidence for it now. I know a lot more about Black Clover, a lot more about Norse mythology, so while it is a similar theory, it builds up a lot more. And I think when I made it at the time, we didn't even know about the Tree of Cliff-Off, so there's a lot more to go off of now. And so one thing I do want to say before I get into it is that one of the common complaints I see on my channel and my theories is that I go a little too deep into Norse mythology, but honestly that's actually a good thing. It's how I predicted that the devils wanted William's World Tree magic. It's because it's Yggdrasil and it connects to different realms. That's exactly what happened. They needed the World Tree magic to bring in the Tree of Cliff-Off that connects the two worlds together, just like the Yggdrasil does in Norse mythology. And also, Tabata admits to taking from the Norse sagas in the Black Clover guidebook. So yeah, I mean, William's World Tree magic is Yggdrasil, and there's so much more Norse influences. Now of course there are other mythological influences like Greek mythology and Judaism and Christianity as well, but Norse is a very heavy influence on the series. But anyways, the Norns in Norse mythology, like I said, are basically witch gods that manipulate fate using strands or threads. Now depending on the saga or translation, fate can mean several different things. Essentially, the Norns control fate, or they control destiny, or they control both. Now, it can be destiny is the journey to getting there. For example, there's a YouTube channel I find very interesting called Eric Wordweaver, who's actually a modern-day practicing Norse pagan, and has a weekly podcast series where he talks about the Norse mythology and religion, and he comes from a very educated standpoint and personal standpoint as well, and I think it is a very entertaining channel and informative channel as well. Now, one of the ways he sees the Norns is they control when and how you die, but they don't necessarily control the journey there. For example, in ways the Norns will dictate that you die on, let's say, May 22nd, 2021, by getting struck by lightning. That is your fate, and there's no avoiding it. But you can either die a nobody, or your destiny is achieving many great things by the time of your death. But it almost seems as if the Norns, or the God of Fate in Black Clover, control fate and destiny, as essentially Asta was fated to have no magic. Generally, fate is tied to death, but it is stated that Asta's fate was to have no magic. That's why it seems like fate and destiny are kind of the same thing in Black Clover. And this means they control his destiny and fate as well. The characters even refer to things like Lucita dropping off Asta at the church, finding a 5-leaf Clover grimoire, stumbling upon Libe, just for Asta to be chosen by that very grimoire years later that Libe was in. There's so many mentions of fate within just that little storyline of Asta and Libe and Lucita. And then there's many other more, like Yami rejecting fate, saying that who cares, screw fate. There's so many mentions of fate that I can't help but think that the God of Fate is pulling the strings for everything. Again, guys, even Vanessa states that there is a God of Fate that chose for Asta to have no magic. This would mean the God of Fate actually orchestrated for Lucita to be cursed, so that the curse would steal Asta's magic, so that he would be dropped off of the church to eventually team up with Libe, who was raised by his own mother. What are the odds? Guys, what are the odds of all of this? The God of Fate is definitely present. So, Julius, finding the two most important pieces of the Tree of Cliff-Off ritual. What if, in a sense, the Tree of Cliff-Off is just Ragnarok? What are the odds of him finding those if it isn't for the God of Fate, or at least some sort of fate manipulation going on? Ragnarok in Norse mythology is the end of the world, and seemingly, if the Tree of Qliphoth is activated, then it will be the end of the Black Clover world. The last time it was activated, though it was stopped, it wiped out over 90% of the population on the entire continent. So that's 90% of a continent, not just the country, a continent, and that was with it being stopped. Imagine if it doesn't get stopped. Guys, this is Ragnarok. Devils are a mythic parallel to the Jotun, which is the attacking army in the events of Ragnarok. In Norse mythology, it's the death of the god of light Baldur that signals the events of Ragnarok to happen. And Black Clover, Lumiere, a wizard king of light magic, dies at the end of the El Saga. Another signal for the events of Ragnarok is the unbinding of Fenrir. And Black Clover, Charmy's wolf, is in a sense unbinded when her hybrid state was activated, and this wolf shares many great traits with Fenrir. Fenrir will attempt to eat the universe come Ragnarok, while Charmy's wolf eats all magic. Huge connection there. Don't see it as just being a coincidence. We also know it was the dwarves who were tasked with creating the items to bind Fenrir. They used wool that's like cotton. Charmy is a half-dwarf who uses cotton magic. There really is too much there for me tying this wolf and Charmy to Fenrir for this not to be Fenrir, or at least related to him. Fenrir does have two wolf sons that are known for eating large things as well. And this actually makes me think even more that not all the gates will open in this arc, because if Vada is really following Ragnarok, we would need a 2.5 year time skip or a 2-year time skip, because when Baldur dies, Fimbulwinter happens. And Fimbulwinter is a 3-year long, harsher than normal winter that directly precedes the Battle of Ragnarok. It has been only a bit over 6 months, to at most a year, since the death of Lumiere, to the symbolic tie to Baldur. So maybe another 1 to 2 gates open in this arc, but then they stop the Qliphoth before it opens fully. This allows for a real Ragnarok to begin after another time skip when Fimbulwinter ends, in which Ost and the Black Bulls will play a huge role. In Norse mythology, one of the first 2 beings was a Black Bull, in which the Aesir spawned from. What if they are the Black Bulls because they'll represent the Aesir in the coming war against fate itself? It almost seems that the Black Bulls were made to stop Ragnarok and the god of fate. You have Yami, who can slice dimensions, Ost is anti-magic, Noelle possibly being a sea goddess, and at least a Valkyrie, and her sea dragon's roar possibly tying to Jormungandr, the world serpent, another huge figure in Ragnarok. Gordon and his cursed magic will be huge, Grey and her possibly being able to be a fate manipulator or reality warper as well. And we have much more from the Black Bulls. We know that the top 3 devils are devils of time, space, and gravity, according to the former head of the Faust family. We also know that there is a god of fate. Now, fate would actually be the ultimate power above time, space, and gravity. Even Plato argued that the concept of fate vastly overpowered the concepts of space and time. Now, the god of fate as a villain, I've talked about many times as something I would find incredibly interesting. So, if you just think about it, this god of fate, Vanessa doesn't have fate magic. She has thread magic with 1 spell of fate. Imagine a god with fate magic with the power of a god. So, actual fate magic, not just a single spell like Vanessa. Actual fate magic plus the magic power, the amount of mana of a god or a high-level devil. That's broken. That's going to be stronger than Lucifero. Lucifero is going to get destroyed by the god of fate if that were to happen. That's why I think that the god of fate is using similar threads to Vanessa in a way, using fate, and he's using, or she is using, Lucifero and these other devils as a pawn. Lucifero might be a pawn. Maybe it is the god of fate that is wanting to manipulate fate to weaken the Black Bulls by activating the Qliphoth. Maybe the god of fate sees the Black Bulls as a threat to their reign, and one day they might surpass them. At least one of them already has access to fate magic in Vanessa, and it's possible Grey does as well, seeing how Vanessa reacted to her healing ghost. Also, Ost's anti-magic feasibly has the power to destroy fate, since Rouge, the Fate Cat, had to dodge the sword by unraveling itself. While hypothetically the god of fate of the Norns and Black Clover, it does sound completely broken, it should not be an unbeatable entity. Odin had learned his own fate magic in the myths and used this to change the fate of others. But no matter how good he got with fate magic, he could not change his own fate. Odin might be in a battle with the god of fate. While he can use his own fate magic to alter fate, he'll never be able to use it to save his own life and prevent his fate. So he has to alter fate in ways so that others can try and save his own life, and then give free will unto the world. Because remember, you can't have free will in a realm where fate exists. In the myths, Odin has 18 charms. These aren't conventional magic, but more like powers and altering laws of reality. Kind of like how anti-magic isn't magic, but is a power. Some of his charms are like his attacks will always hit no matter what, or making it so that none of his comrades can die. One of his charms changes the destiny of any newborn he graces with it, so that they will only die of old age and have a great life. He has many more charms, and in the myths, we're told that Odin's 18th charm is stronger than the previous 17 put together, but you're never told what the power is, and it's implied that either Odin cannot use it, Or he never uses it. What if in the Black Clover, and Odin is a character in it? If he is, the 18th charm is anti-magic, and Odin had to use it wisely, using his fate magic to make Asta and Libe have no mana, so he could gift the devil Libe with anti-magic, and then one day, Devil Union anti-magic could be a thing. Remember, Odin has magic. He cannot use anti-magic because he has mana. So this is a charm that would follow the mist as something that he really couldn't use because he can't use it. It's anti-magic. So he uses it on other people. That's what most of his charms do, is it helps other people around him. So you look at it this way. Fate magic, it's arcane. And we also know that anti-magic is also arcane, but seemingly to a higher level since Rouge had to dodge the anti-magic swords. All this flows into my next theory, which, while it is a standalone theory, will also act as part 2 of this theory. The next theory is who is the Witch Queen, and the real reason why she wanted Asta's anti-magic. This will release on Tuesday at 10 AM Pacific time, so stay tuned for that. Look over all this, guys. I get it. It might sound a bit crazy, but remember that Norse is like the heaviest influence in Black Clover out of all the mythologies. Just so many influences, so I understand that this might not be true. Now, you could just have a god of fate and he isn't related to Norse. It's like Tabata's own creation, or it's a god of fate from a different religion or mythology. But I think this would be a really cool way to explain how anti-magic was created. If it was Odin's 18th charm that, guys, we don't know. Like, every scholar, everybody who's looked into the Norse myths, the Poetic Edda, the Prose Edda, there is no mention of what the 18th charm is. That'd be really cool for Tabata to use that, take more from Norse mythology, and the 18th charm is anti-magic. And this is how, I guess, Odin would defeat the Fates. By giving anti-magic to somebody, he'd use his fate to make it so somebody could wield anti-magic. That would be Libe and Asta. And then in the end, Asta maybe will one day defeat the god of fate and actually bring about free will. If you think about it this way, if fate exists the way it does in Black Clover, the reason why the system is so corrupt is because of the god of fate. The god of fate is choosing everything like this to happen. So, if Asta wants true free will for everybody, if he wants to really help society get better and progress, especially the Clover Kingdom and how corrupt they've been, he needs to kill the god of fate so that there is free will and everybody is making their own decisions and there's no god of fate manipulating it. So, let me know your thoughts down below. Please leave a like if you enjoyed, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. I also want to give a huge credit out to Polsky Art, who created another commission for me. A link below to his Twitter down below. You should definitely check him out. Commission from them as well, because, you know, I would just keep doing it because I love the thumbnails. It saves me time, and I just really, really like them. Hope you guys all have an amazing day. Plus...